And that, I think, that is one of the qualities that you have. That is why you have been so successful. Because, okay, when you win a big match, when you you win a big tournament, I suppose it doesn't need repeating, but I'll repeat it anyway. You have brought such pride to the Philippines, to the Filipinos, and not only because of your success, but also because the grace with which you handle that success. Because
Alex Eala has just experienced a moment unlike anything any Filipino athlete has witnessed before. After becoming the first Filipina in history to reach the fourth round of a Grand Slam and stunning a former world #1 on the most iconic grass court in tennis, she returned home to a welcome worthy of a national hero. The celebration reached the highest level when the President of the Philippines personally made sure the world knew just how proud the entire nation was of her remarkable achievement. The historic homecoming began the moment Alex touched down at Ninoy Aquino International Airport. Arriving from Bangkok after an unforgettable European campaign that included a record-breaking run at Wimbledon, she stepped into Terminal 3, expecting to return home, but what awaited her was anything but an ordinary arrival. Instead of a quiet, low-key reception, she was greeted by an outpouring of support that reflected the pride of an entire nation celebrating one of its greatest sporting stars. She was welcomed by a distinguished delegation that included the chair of the Philippine Sports Commission, the president of the Philippine Olympic Committee, and the Secretary General of the Philippine Tennis Association. To make the occasion even more memorable, a live cultural performance awaited her, with a traditional folk band playing Filipino instruments in celebration of her historic achievement.
the way you play and the way you comport yourself makes us proud. Because you show the greatest, best qualities of Filipinos. So you remind us why we are great.
Overwhelmed by the heartfelt reception, Alex Eala looked around in disbelief and quietly asked if it was really all for her. The answer was an unmistakable yes. And that extraordinary welcome was only the beginning. Just 2 days later, an even greater honor awaited her at Malacañang Palace. President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. hosted a special homecoming reception for Eala, recognizing her not simply as a rising tennis star, but as a national icon who had achieved something truly historic for the Philippines. The ceremony celebrated her remarkable Wimbledon journey and acknowledged the pride and inspiration she had brought to millions of Filipinos around the world. The ceremony carried the significance of official state recognition, the kind of honor typically reserved for the nation's most distinguished citizens. Everyone inside the room understood that this was more than a celebration of athletic success. It was a defining moment for Philippine sports. Alex Eala's achievements had grown beyond the tennis court, becoming a source of national pride and inspiration. When President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. took the microphone, he spoke with genuine admiration. Addressing Eala directly, he told her that she reminds Filipinos of the greatness of their people, describing her success as more than a personal triumph. He said her achievements reflected the resilience, determination, and character of the entire Filipino nation. The president praised her calmness under pressure and the grace and maturity she displays both on and off the court, emphasizing,
The way you play and the way you comport yourself makes us proud. Because you show the greatest, best qualities of Filipinos. So you remind us why we are great.
That her impact extends far beyond tennis. This was not simply a politician offering a routine congratulatory speech. It was a heartfelt tribute to an athlete who had become a symbol of national pride. It was a remarkable moment. The president of the Philippines stood before the cameras and told a 21-year-old athlete that she had become a symbol of national pride. Addressing Eala, President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. praised not only her accomplishments on the court, but also the way she carries herself. Because the way you play and the way you comport yourself makes us proud. Because you show the greatest, best qualities of Filipinos. So you remind us why we are a great race, he said, emphasizing that her character was just as inspiring as her victories. The The president went on to reflect on Eala's long journey to the world stage, reminding everyone that her success did not happen overnight. He recalled following her career from her junior years, including her Australian Open girls doubles title when she was only 14 years old. Marcos shared that even back then, when people asked about her potential, his response was simple. She was only getting started. Now, after her breakthrough Wimbledon campaign, he told Eala that she had fulfilled that promise and proven those early expectations to be true. Perhaps the most memorable part of his remarks was his description of the impact Eala had on people far beyond the tennis court. He spoke about fans around the world stopping what they were doing just to watch her matches, mentioning stories of hospitals pausing their routines and caregivers staying awake late into the night to cheer her on. Whether every anecdote can be independently confirmed or not, the message behind his words was unmistakable. Alex Eala's Wimbledon run had united and inspired countless Filipinos, making her journey far bigger than sport alone. President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. painted a powerful picture of a nation united behind one of its own, describing how Filipinos followed every point of Eala's Wimbledon journey as she competed on the biggest stage in tennis. His message made it clear that Eala's success was no longer just her own. It had become a shared source of pride for millions of people across the country and around the world. The president also took time to recognize the people who made her remarkable journey possible from the very beginning. He paid special tribute to Eala's parents, acknowledging the enormous sacrifice they made when they sent their 13-year-old daughter halfway across the world to train at the Rafa Nadal Academy in Mallorca, Spain. It was a life-changing decision that required immense faith and courage. Leaving home at such a young age meant giving up the comfort of family and familiarity to pursue a dream that came with no guarantees of success. Marcos publicly thanked her parents for believing in Eala long before the world knew her name. Reflecting on the emotional challenge of that decision, he shared, "When she was 14 years old, I had to send my children to school when they were about that age, and I know how it feels, but yet you did it. And yet you did it because of your belief in Alex." His words highlighted the commitment and trust her family showed, reminding everyone that behind every great champion is a support system willing to make extraordinary sacrifices. President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. concluded his remarks by expressing the nation's gratitude to the Eala family, saying, "And for that, we are all extremely, extremely grateful." His words set the stage for the most significant moment of the ceremony, one that transformed the occasion from a heartfelt celebration into an official act of national recognition. The president then presented Eala with a presidential citation, formally honoring her historic Wimbledon campaign. It was far more than a ceremonial photo opportunity. The award represented the Philippine government's official acknowledgement that Eala's achievements had made a meaningful impact on the nation. Her breakthrough on one of tennis's biggest stages had elevated the Philippines' profile in a sport where the country has rarely had a global star for fans to rally behind. For her part, Eala accepted the honor with the same humility that has defined her career. She thanked the president for the recognition, saying she felt deeply honored by the distinction. Rather than viewing the award as the culmination of her journey, she described it as motivation to keep improving, promising to continue working hard and striving to reach even greater heights in the years ahead. Alex Eala explained that every time she steps onto a tennis court, she does so with one purpose in mind: to make the Philippines proud. Speaking directly to President Ferdinand Marcos Jr., she shared that no matter where she competes around the world, she always carries the Philippine flag in her heart and feels a deep sense of responsibility to represent her country with dignity, respect, and excellence. She said that wearing the nation's colors is an honor she never takes for granted, and that she constantly strives to reflect the values of the Filipino people through both her performances on the court and the way she conducts herself away from it. Coming from an athlete who has earned widespread admiration for her humility, professionalism, and maturity despite her rapid rise in world tennis, her words resonated as completely authentic. There was no sense of rehearsed patriotism, only genuine gratitude and an unwavering commitment to the country that has supported her throughout her journey. Eala then turned her attention to the president, expressing heartfelt appreciation for the extraordinary recognition she had received. She admitted that the entire experience felt almost surreal, saying it was something she never could have imagined when she first picked up a tennis racket as a young girl. Thank you, Mr. President, for this special honor and for the warm welcome. Never in my wildest dreams did I think I would be having dinner here at Malacañang Palace beside you and receiving such kind and genuine words, she said. Her response reflected the same humility that has defined her career from the beginning. Despite breaking records, defeating some of the biggest names in tennis, and becoming one of the sport's fastest rising stars, she remained grounded, choosing to focus on gratitude rather than personal glory. The significance of the evening became even greater when viewed in the context of everything that had happened over the previous few weeks. Eala had only recently completed the most successful Grand Slam campaign ever achieved by a Filipino tennis player at Wimbledon. She made history by becoming the first Filipina to earn a seed at a Grand Slam, a milestone that symbolized years of dedication, sacrifice, and steady progress. She then continued rewriting the record books by becoming the first Filipina to win a Wimbledon singles main draw match, proving that she belonged among the world's elite competitors. With every victory, she pushed Philippine tennis into uncharted territory, eventually becoming the first Filipina ever to reach both the third and fourth rounds of a Grand Slam tournament. Those achievements were about far more than statistics or rankings. They inspired millions of Filipinos who had never before seen one of their own compete so successfully on one of tennis's biggest stages. Every match attracted growing attention back home, with fans gathering in homes, restaurants, schools, and workplaces to follow her remarkable run. Social media exploded with messages of support after each victory, and her success became a source of national pride that extended far beyond the tennis community. By the time she returned to Manila, Alex Eala was no longer simply a promising young athlete. She had become a symbol of hope, perseverance, and possibility for an entire generation of Filipinos dreaming of achieving greatness on the global stage. Alex Eala's remarkable Wimbledon campaign also propelled her to a career-high world ranking of number 28, another milestone that highlighted just how rapidly her career is progressing. Climbing into the world's top 30 is an achievement that only a select group of players ever reach. And for Eala, it represented years of relentless training, sacrifice, and perseverance. Every victory she earned throughout the grass season contributed to that rise, proving that her success was not a one-tournament surprise, but the result of steady development against the best players in the world. By the time she returned to the Philippines, she wasn't simply coming home after a memorable Grand Slam run. She was arriving as one of the highest-ranked athletes the country has ever produced in international tennis. What made the recognition even more extraordinary was how quickly it happened. Within just days of completing her historic Wimbledon campaign, Eala was already being honored by the President of the Philippines in an official ceremony at Malacañang Palace. The timing was significant because it demonstrated that this was not a symbolic gesture organized months after the excitement had faded. Instead, it was an immediate acknowledgement from the highest levels of government that her accomplishments deserved national recognition. Philippine leaders wanted to ensure that Eala understood, in real time, how deeply her success had resonated across the country and how proud the nation was of everything she had achieved. That sense of urgency also reflected the impact of her Wimbledon run on the Filipino public. Millions had followed her matches, celebrated every victory, and watched her rewrite the history books for Philippine tennis. The government recognized that her achievements had become a unifying national moment, inspiring young athletes and giving Filipinos around the world another reason to celebrate their country on the international stage. Rather than allowing that momentum to fade, officials chose to honor her while the memories were still fresh, reinforcing the message that her accomplishments had made a lasting contribution to Philippine sports. Of course, Eala's homecoming has extended well beyond the ceremony at Malacañang Palace. During her brief stay in Manila, she has been balancing a packed schedule filled with public appearances, fan celebrations, media interviews, and commitments to several of her commercial partners. Among the highlights are appearances connected to Nike and other major sponsors that have supported her journey as her profile continues to grow internationally. Each event has given Filipino fans another opportunity to celebrate the country's newest sporting icon before she returns to competition. Despite the celebrations, Eala knows there is little time to pause. Her attention will soon shift back to the hardcourt season in North America, where another demanding stretch of tournaments awaits. The celebrations may be unforgettable, but the work is far from over. With her confidence at an all-time high, a career-best ranking, and the support of an entire nation behind her, Alex Eala now heads into the next chapter of her career carrying even greater expectations and even greater belief that she can continue making history on the world's biggest tennis stages. With major tournaments such as Cincinnati, Toronto, and the National Bank Open fast approaching, Alex Eala knows her time at home will be short. As unforgettable as this homecoming has been, it represents only a brief pause before she returns to the demanding routine of professional tennis. The North American hardcourt swing is one of the most important stretches of the season, featuring elite competition and valuable ranking points. For Eala, the celebrations will soon give way to intense training sessions, long travel days, and the relentless pursuit of continued success against the world's best players. The spotlight will once again shift from ceremonies and tributes to the tennis court, where she has earned every bit of the recognition she now enjoys. Still, before that next chapter begins, this moment belongs entirely to her and to the millions of Filipinos who stood behind her throughout her historic Wimbledon campaign. They stayed awake through the early hours of the morning to watch every match, celebrated every victory across social media, and proudly watched her become one of the biggest stories in international tennis. With each passing round, support for Eala grew stronger, turning her matches into national events that united fans across the Philippines and Filipino communities around the world. Her remarkable run wasn't just about winning tennis matches. It gave an entire nation a reason to dream bigger and believe that a Filipino athlete could compete with and defeat the very best on one of sport's grandest stages. That is what made her reception at Malacañang Palace so meaningful. It was more than a ceremonial celebration or a congratulatory handshake. It was a powerful statement from the country's highest leadership that Alex Eala's achievements had become part of the nation's sporting history. The recognition confirmed that her impact reached far beyond rankings, trophies, and statistics. She had become a source of inspiration for young athletes, a role model for the next generation, and a symbol of what determination, discipline, and perseverance can accomplish. Perhaps the most remarkable aspect of Eala's story is that it still feels like the beginning rather than the end. At just 21 years old, she has already accomplished milestones that